Witcher on Netflix Season 1 came out at the end of last month, and I did a few reviews on it, and I'm doing even more videos on it, including lore and history. But some of you guys seemed really confused about the timelines in the first season, and you wanted to know exactly when certain things were happening and in what order. So this video, I just want to clear up the timeline a little bit for you guys, or those of you that were a bit confused. First off, I want to say right off the bat, if you were confused about what was happening when and the timelines in the first season, and you have people telling you it was super easy or you should have gotten it, those are probably people that have played the video games or read the books. So the timeline didn't confuse me in the first season because I'm very, very into the books. But if you're not into either, I completely understand how that was incredibly confusing for you and for people that are new to the Witcher universe. So if you were confused about the timeline in the first season, don't let anyone make you feel bad about that. It's perfectly understandable. You're not stupid and they're not super smart for getting it. It's just, it depends on your exposure to the Witcher world and also when stories aren't told in a linear way. So I just want to get that out of the way. So the first season of The Witcher on Netflix actually covers 53 years total. And I'm going off the official timeline given by Netflix. So if there are certain things that you think, wow, I didn't interpret it that way, this is Netflix and this is what they're saying. Hopefully there will be some changes because honestly, they're making Yennefer very young, where compared to the video games and the books, Yennefer's a lot older. Now, the showrunner, Lauren Hiss Rick, I'm still working on it. Her last name is spelled Hiss and then Rich, but she says the H with a K, and for some reason my brain just wants to keep saying Hiss Rich. Hiss Rick. It'll become normal for me eventually. Anyways, the showrunner for Netflix's The Witcher said that Geralt has been alive for over 100 years by the time season 1 starts, where Yennefer is under 100 years old in this first season. So I know that might upset some people because they know Yennefer's a lot older in the video games and in the books. I don't know why they made that decision. I don't know why they're having Geralt be over 100 years old, but Yennefer's so young. So the earliest point in season 1 is 1210, and this is when Yennefer is sold in episode 2 by her father to Aretuza and to Tissaia.
How much for this beast?
6.
4.
What are you doing?
Sold.
So everything we see before Yennefer's transformation and they make her more beautiful is the earliest point in season 1. And the next earliest event is her transformation in episode 3. So 1210, Yennefer gets sold. She begins her training as a sorceress. She goes through her transformation. The next event on the timeline, from oldest to newest, is episode 1, where Geralt earns the nickname the Butcher of Blaviken, and he's forced to kill Renfri and her men. The next event on this timeline is Jaskier and Geralt being abducted by elves in episode 2.
I was once Filavandrel of the Silver Towers. Now I'm Filavandrel of the Edge of the World.
After that, the next event on the timeline is from episode 4, where Yennefer fails after working for quite some time in court, fails to protect the queen gets assassinated, and then Yennefer goes rogue and does a really creepy monologue to a dead baby. I know what they were trying to do with their character, but man, was that monologue to a dead baby really creepy.
So count yourself lucky. You've cheated the game, won without even knowing it.
And at this point, while we don't have an exact date for the assassination of the queen, or at least not one that I've seen, Yennefer has been serving at court between 2 decades and under 39 years. At most, she's been serving for 39 years as a sorceress. And how we know that is because the next date we get is 1249, so 39 years after Yennefer is sold, where Geralt is fighting the Striga in episode 3. Shortly after Geralt fights the Striga in 1249, Geralt in episode 4 ends up invoking the Lull of Surprise and ends up getting Ciri as his child of destiny, or the future-born Ciri from Dunny or Dooney and Pavetta.
Destiny can go.
The next event, so after Geralt gets his child of surprise, or at least is promised it as soon as it is born, we see in episode 5, Geralt and Yennefer meet, and it's during the Last Wish episode with the Djinn.
I thought you'd have fangs or horns or something.
I had them filed down.
The next event we're given is episode 6, where Yen and Geralt meet again while they are trying to find a golden dragon that Geralt doesn't believe in, and honestly, I love that story. If you have not read the prequel book to the main Witcher saga, The Sword of Destiny, please, please do. It's such a Anyways, episode 6, Yennefer and Geralt meet again. They're having kind of a rough relationship. They've been together less than 14 years on and off at this point. I can't give you a more exact number because Netflix is being a little stingy. Anyways, Geralt reveals that with his last wish, in order to save Yennefer, he tied himself to her, and she's like, fuck you, and ends their relationship. However fucked up their relationship was.
I'm going to save you both a lot of hurt with a little pain now. The sorceress will never regain her womb. Though you didn't want to lose her, Geralt, you will.
He already has.
The next event is 1263. It's been 12 years since Geralt has been to Cintra. He returns to Cintra in episode 7 to claim Ciri as his child of surprise, his child of destiny, under the lull of surprise, whatever you want to call it, so he can spare her from the coming Nilfgaardians.
I'll summon you when she's ready.
Geralt, unfortunately, is imprisoned, and the next event that happens after he's imprisoned is Calanthe loses the battle that we see in episode 1. Next event is episode 7. Yennefer returns to Aretuza and decides to help at Sodden Hill and repelling the Nilfgaardians.
She has no idea you're here.
You said she asked for me.
No. I told you that she said you were her best student. I'm the one that wants you here.
It took 5 minutes for the lies to start. Why did I expect anything else from a place held together by bullshit?
That leads us to episode 1, where Cintra is sacked and Ciri ends up escaping and trying to find Geralt. Calanthe Timothy also commits suicide, which leads into some bigger things, and Geralt, of course, escapes during the sack of Cintron. Finally, the last piece on the timeline is episode 8, and this is where Yennefer unleashes her chaos during the Battle of Sodden Hill. She ends up vanishing after that. We're told that she was blinded in this episode. It happens a little bit different in the books, but I'm okay with the change to that. So Yennefer has vanished, and also at the same time as that is happening, Geralt and Ciri end up finally meeting.
People linked by destiny will always find each other.
Who is Yennefer?
So hopefully that made all of this make a little bit more sense. I will try to post a little infographic, whatever, for you to look at. And if you really didn't like how they did the timeline in season 1, know that the showrunner promised in season 2 that it's going to be a lot more linear because a lot of these characters have converged, so they don't need to be all over the place. And if you follow any of the showrunner's interviews, you know originally she was actually going to have a lot more surprises and time twists in season 1, so this was actually a toned down version. So alright, let me know what you think about this timeline, whether you think Netflix is wrong and you would change something around, and like, subscribe, come back for more videos.